Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Pure Digital Passion Podcast with me, Moses Kemibaro. A few weeks ago, I was in a room at the Hyatt Place in Westlands covering the EU-Kenya Tech Business Offer Forum, one of the most significant digital economy events Kenya has hosted in years. Kenya has just been announced as the first country in Africa to launch a formal digital dialogue with the European Union. Amongst the presentations that day, one stood out for being grounded in something that policy forums rarely produce: actual numbers, actual people, and actual proof of what they're doing here right now in Kenya. So my guest today is Sven De Cauter, who really, I think, took all our breath away when he did his presentation, telling us about their business, which is called Teleperformance Kenya. And the room listened and paid attention to what he had to say, because the trajectory he described really was remarkable. It's a Belgian national who joined the world's largest BPO in 2018, spent 2 years running the multilingual accounts out of Barcelona, and then came to East Africa during COVID, mind you, to build something that was almost nobody in the global BPO industry saw coming. From 60 employees in 2020, they've grown to 2,500 today, just over 6 years, operating in 21 languages, serving clients across 170 markets, with a presence not in Nairobi, but also in Mombasa, which also happens to be my hometown. So I was really happy about that. And a city really that when you've grown up there, you wonder, Mombasa, is this a place where you could run a high-tech business? But indeed, Sven has done this with Teleperformance. And I think that's really wonderful, showing that talent is all over this country. And if the infrastructure and the opportunities are presented, why not give it to all the different young people in the market? So today we're going to get really into all of it. We're going to talk about Sven's origin story, his Barcelona chapter, what brought him to Nairobi and why he thought about Nairobi and Kenya for that matter, and really also why Teleperformance, or TP as they're called today, chose to work in Kenya. And also, as we do all of this, how they're using AI to sort of create more effective BPO services, and what it actually means to set a target of, believe it or not, 10,000 jobs in Kenya by 2013. So Sven, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast.
Thank you, Moses. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah?
I'm really excited to have this conversation.
So it's been about 3 weeks, I think, since the EU Forum event, which I think was just incredible. The digital dialogue was launched. You were one of the businesses that made a presentation, and clearly you made an impression because we're here having this podcast. And the thing I would just like to start off with, I think, is kind of your background. You're Belgian, but it seems to me when I looked at your credentials that you seem to have come through the academic side of things and also your early work experiences in the UK, before joining TP. And I just want to understand, what is that behind that? Why did you choose to do your formative education years and also your early work careers in the UK? What was behind that?
So I think from a baseline, my career has stretched and spanned across various countries. So I am actually a retired soldier. That's my.
Oh, really?
Yes. So
that's not on your LinkedIn profile.
No, it's not. But yeah, so my military career, then my life career, my academics, like you said, in the UK.
Yes.
I was running a contract management company.
Okay.
Which brought me to Africa at some stage. So that's where my interest in Africa came.
Okay.
But coming back to the Barcelona trip. So I think we were having a quick conversation beforehand. Getting in Barcelona and working for a big corporate is a big change from being an entrepreneur and running your own business. So for me, it was a learning curve. And it was really an inspiring moment to see how the BPO industry actually operates at scale.
Okay.
So I think in Barcelona, we were about also 2,500 at that point in a multilingual center. It gave me a very clear overview of operational rigor, capabilities, excellence, etc. So that's bringing my educational and my career path was really like an eye-opener, okay? What we learn in business, well, in reality, it needs to come together. So that's what happened in Barcelona for me.
Yes.
And what gained my interest in the corporate BPO industry. Yeah, the capabilities of course, mass job creation, people development, skills development, etc.
Correct. What was it that you were doing in Africa before, and if I may ask? Because I didn't quite get that context before when you spoke.
Yeah. So I lived in Tanzania for about 5 to 6 years. When I was running Nexus Contract Management, we were actually building centers for corporations. So we were actually doing the contract management and making sure it was all compliant, etc. So that's why I was in Tanzania for that amount of time.
Fantastic. So you had a context about the market, the region, and therefore you kind of understood where you were going.
Yeah, it was a good learning curve, my journey in Tanzania, because of course, culturally aligned, I think learning to understand how business operates, how things get done, was very eye-opening and educational for me to make sure that what we are now implementing in Kenya is where we...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So give us a bit of a context about TP, because until this event, I mean, I have to be honest, I'm not really well grounded in the, how shall we say, the BPO space. I'm aware of various companies in Kenya, for instance, in different areas. But I think for me, what really caught my attention is, as you can imagine, I think around the time when we first got our undersea cables, one of the great promises of the market was, that the BPO space was going to explode in Kenya. I don't know whether that really happened at the time, 15 years or so ago. Now, obviously, having gone to this event and becoming more aware of the different players in the market, it's become very obvious. It's significant. But I really just want to understand, maybe for our audience who are watching or listening to this, what is the significance of TP as a global business? I think it's important to understand the sheer scale, because even when you were making that presentation at the event, I was kind of like in awe at just how big this business is. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about TP and what maybe you understood when you joined them, and obviously where they are today.
Yeah, so I think TP's story is quite remarkable. TP is the biggest BPO in the world. Okay, they are number one. We have a headcount of about 490 to 500,000 staff globally. It got founded in 1978 by...
Wow, that far back?
Yes. So the funny story is that it got founded by our CEO and founder, who just retired 2 weeks ago on the 15th of April. He retired.
Okay.
But he's still part of the business as...
where was it started by the country?
In France.
In France. Okay.
In Paris.
Okay.
It was started above a taxi station with 12 people.
What?
Yeah.
So, and it's evolved to what it is now.
To what it is now. So it's a huge organization. It's very structured. And I think the point that you're coming to, it is the passion and the people that create a organization like TP is currently. I think that's one point is we start in 78. You think the journey we have been on. Okay, we will talk about AI later, but in that time, it was still the old dial-up phones.
Really?
There was no mobile phones. There was no internet. So this is the journey TP has been on adjusting and adapting to the digital development that the world has gone through.
Wow. Yeah. So really, the origin story, is that really that far back? Eh?
It is that far back,
wow,
yes.
Wow. Almost 50 years ago.
Yes.
Wow. So tell us a little bit about how the Nairobi / Kenya moment happened. How did it come to be from Barcelona to Kenya, which of course I understand you have reasons why it was good to come back, which I think you'll get into. Yeah. But why Kenya? Why Nairobi? What are the ingredients or the drivers behind that decision?
Okay, so first of, for me personally, it was by fluke. It was by an accident of going for an interview to do a global operations role in Europe.
Okay.
So I was going through an internal job promotion and doing the interview, and the person looked at my CV and asked me questions. Well, what's this about Africa? And I said, well, I've been there, I've lived there. And funny enough, he just asked me, he said, would you be interested in going back? And I said, of course I am. I wanted to come back. It is always my passion. I think I'm a Christian, so God puts you where you need to be.
Wow.
So that was for me like, okay, I've been just out of the blue being asked if I want to go back. And I always said to my wife, I want to go back to Africa. So I said, yes, I want to come back. So then we went, he said, I will put you in contact with the next one, and then did the various interviews to actually start looking. Then it was Majoral. Majoral got acquired by TP. So they set up in Kenya because we had a seed client. So there was one client that was interested in setting up operations here.
Okay.
There was discussions and agreements being made, and we needed somebody to run, which was luckily me.
But they already had designated it was going to be Nairobi at that point.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is happening like early 2020? Late 2019?
19, yeah.
Yeah.
Late 19.
Just as COVID is coming into focus.
Yes.
So what happens? You get the go-ahead?
So yeah, I went through the process. We got the agreement, and then I had to have the plan with my family, of course, because we just moved from Tanzania to Barcelona about a year and a half ago. So I came out first, and my family was still in Barcelona. So during COVID, it was actually an experience to fly during that time, because you had to fly. You had to fly with a face shield, the face masks, and the protocols.
Wow.
I had an empty plane. That was the good thing.
Oh, wow. And at this point in time, do you have any employees yet on the ground, or are you starting from scratch?
So when we landed, we had about 40 people here.
Already,
waiting. So we had my VP of People Operations, Santano, who is also still in Kenya now. He already had recruited the starting team. Yeah. So when I arrived, we had a small team here. We had the office space just set up. And yeah, I just came in, sat down and sat with the team. I think the key point here is that the team was very welcoming and very open to see what we could do.
What are the ingredients, again, coming back to the choice of Kenya, Nairobi, the kind of, talent we have here? What are the reasons why, TP chose Kenya? I mean, if you were to describe it in your own words, what are the things that were important to the drivers behind that decision?
Well, I would always say the people are the driver and the skills.
The skills.
So if we say for global clients, you would say, of course, good English, good talent pipeline availability, and easier access and good data transmission and communication.
The infrastructure,
right? Everything like that. So I think that was the start. I think the surprise for myself was the volume of people that was available.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I think when we started for the first 60, we put out the job applications, and we had, I think it was in 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, we had over 20,000 CVs come through. So it was like we were inundated by talent.
Wow.
Yeah. So then it was about looking and finding the best ones out of it.
And you'd say probably the bulk of them was the people that, if you had the capacity, you would have taken
them. I would have taken all of them.
Wow. So you're saying there's a lot of headroom.
There's a lot of, so talent pipeline is very strong, very stable in Kenya. I think if we look at the annual graduates that come out of university, we know they are all been educated in English. So the English is at least the B2, which is the categorization we use in our industry, B2, C1, C2.
Yes.
I would say everybody we speak to is at least a B2. Yeah. Now, if we look at the India market, yes, you would not have that volume, even that it's so big, and the quality, of course, is extremely good.
If I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is that the quality of the talent is also of a fairly high standard.
It is very high. So for me, one of my discussions with clients, etc., is always saying, okay, if you would put somebody from India on the phone, and you would put somebody from Kenya, you would put somebody from South Africa, you would put somebody from Philippines, you would be able to say of all those three where they are from. With Kenya, people are not sure.
It's a neutral accent.
It's a very, very neutral accent. It is not, it's very hard to say you are from Kenya. So that is, for me, the strength in our people here is how clear and how neutral the accent is.
Fantastic. Now, I'd like to understand what goes into actually getting somebody work ready in Kenya. So you've got these initial employees, you've got this opportunity to bring them in and have them work with your clients. And we'll talk a little bit about the industries and the sectors that you serve. But what is that process of onboarding and getting them work ready? Yeah.
So I think in the first place, our industry, everybody thinks as it's okay, it's low skilled. And I think that's very wrong, because it is not. You need to be IT literate. Of course, you need to speak the English. You need to be able to type. So you need to have the basic skills ready. To create good customer service agents, representatives, you have to have empathy. You have to be able to deal with real life problems. Yeah, if it's by phone or is it by chat or is it by email, you need to feel how the other person on the other side is actually being at that point. So empathy, relating, being able to adjust to the situation at time. So we do normally an onboarding process, which is the normal Teleperformance onboarding process. But then we also, of course, do educational. Okay, how do we deal with an angry client? How do we deal with an upset client? Yeah, so these are the soft skills, we call them. Which we also found in Kenya, it is much easier. So the learning curve is much shorter than in certain locations.
So these are the nuances that you're starting to pick up. Yeah, the details of that. That's so interesting. The fact that, the ability to sort of reflect and be able to deal with an irate customer or, those little soft skills become so valuable in that experience.
Let me just adjust his microphone.
Okay.
Should I talk loud?
No. I just saw it moving.
Okay. Right. So we'll nip that out, yeah? Okay. All right. The other question I'd like to ask you, Sven, is maybe a little bit about when you think about the Kenyan workforce that you have within your organization, which sort of clients or industries or sectors are they predominantly serving? What sort of services are you offering through this workforce?
So in general, our biggest bulk is, of course, is e-commerce.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
So customer service on e-commerce. We serve all of Europe. That's why you have all the languages. And as we will discuss further, AI is coming more and more in that equation. So we can serve the Nordic market from Kenya with English through translation into Nordic. So
No
that's
way.
yes. So that's
So there's AI doing real-time translation.
Yes, they
Fantastic.
do. So that's the good part. So for us, because Kenya is such clean and good English, it makes it much easier and much more connectable for the AI as well.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about this scaling story, because for me, that's what blew my mind when you're on the stage the other day. In addition to the fact that, of course, TP is a 500,000 person organization. I really want to understand that growth curve, because it seems quite spectacular, to go from 60 to 2,500 people. And then within that, I'd like to talk a little bit about maybe kind of like how you managed to go to up to 4 locations, including, my hometown, Mombasa. We'll talk a little bit about that. But maybe you can tell us a little bit about that journey to grow the business to that point.
So I think it's very important that we run a business. However, I think the business will drive if you run it with the people. So for me, my purpose and why I get out of bed in the morning is to be enabled to create jobs and create opportunities. So that's my driver. Since I got here, I said, God gives you a purpose. Well, my purpose was, what can I do to make an impact, to make a difference? So we had one client in Kenya in 2020, which was, for me, was like, okay, that is a problem in our industry, because if you lose your anchor clients,
it's risky.
It's risky. So for me, my first objective on the Kenya story was, I need more clients. So that's what we did. So we went out, I went scouring, I went talking to people in the global.
So you're pitching.
I was pitching
globally.
I was a salesman.
Wow.
And I gained the second client in 2021. Actually did 2 clients in that year, and I've grown 2 clients every year.
Is it like personal flights, visits?
It's networking, it's flights, it's communicating with our global BDs.
And at this point, you're selling the benefits of Kenya.
I'm selling Africa.
Wow.
I'm selling Kenya. I'm telling everybody how great and what is the next big opportunity. And like I said before, is for us the icing on the cake was when our CEO and founder came last year, because then he also saw, of course, this is literally a great place to be for our industry.
Wow. So again, so you're acquiring the clients, and that's driving the numbers up.
And then people development. So I think if I give you a short story on, for example, our operations manager who started with us in 2020.
Yes.
She's now our senior director of operations, running 4 or 5 clients. Yes, and that's the growth she has been on. So the internal development of people, really focusing. Okay, because as you said, Moses, there's been talk about BPO in Kenya, but there's not really been a boom or a talent pipeline that comes from somewhere. Yeah. So for us and for me during that first 2-3 years was, okay, what do we need to do to have our people ready and be able to support? What do I need to get to be ready for growth? Yeah. So I think being self-aware and making sure that the team is aligned in saying, okay, what's our ambition? What's our vision? What's our mission to get Kenya to where it's got the capability of coming? Yeah. So I think if you would ask anybody in my team, Sven, the 10,000 is the first step. Yeah?
It's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning. Yeah. Because and everybody knows, because we as a team and as TP Kenya, we know how these jobs change lives.
So let's talk a little bit about the fact that you're in 4 locations. I'm going to talk a little bit about the specifics. And of course, now we'll zoom into Mombasa, because that's almost a counterintuitive move. As somebody who's worked in this ecosystem, for almost 30 years myself, I'm almost like, that is different. But let's talk about the locations. How have you sort of managed to scale? Where are you currently operating from? I know you're based out of the Two Rivers location as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the kind of setup you have in the market right now?
Yes. So we started in 2020 at West End Towers.
Okay.
So right in front of Safaricom, that building, the very nice building. And we had 100 desks.
Wow. Okay.
So, and we grew in the first year to about 700 agents during COVID. And
Wow.
we had
At that location?
At that location. So we didn't have enough desk space. So we started saying, okay, what can we do? So we took the whole 9th floor in that same building.
Wow.
So we built 340 desks there, and we set up and we started operations. So we found out, we have another client coming. We don't have enough space. So we started in Delta Corner. So in Delta Corner, we have 240 seats. We have 2 floors. And then, of course, there was also a TP previous location, which was a small office at Riverside. Yeah, at Riverside.
All these are still working?
The only one that's closed is West End Towers.
Okay,
so that was the consolidation to Two Rivers.
Okay, so at some point you decided to go to Two Rivers.
Yes, we decided to go to Two Rivers. And then Mombasa, of course, which lies close to your heart, came up because we were servicing a specific client who had a very specific need for Swahili.
Oh.
So that is the reason. So we could find the Swahili in Nairobi, but we found there is still that. Can I say Can I say the Cheng?
For free. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Whenever if you're somebody who's born in Mombasa or raised in Mombasa, and you hear Nairobi Kiswahili, what they call Bara Kiswahili.
Yes.
It's like night and day. And I think that was a wise move.
So that's why we explored Mombasa. And actually now we're not only serving the Swahili from, we're serving
the English markets.
We're serving all markets. So it's a very good location for us. We are very proud. It was actually the first big development we did ourselves.
From the bottom up, huh?
We started it from scratch.
Because again, Mombasa is not really structured for this kind of business historically. Yeah?
I think it's undervalued. I would say it is because
underappreciated
because if you talk to the Swahili port, if you go to that group and the tech development there and the collaboration from the government of Mombasa to literally have the youth come together. So we went there and I said, okay, we had conversations with people and doing podcasts and things like that. And I thought, I didn't know.
So it's almost like a hidden secret again.
Yes.
Even just Mombasa is an ideal location for this
very
knowledge work. Yeah,
it is a very good location. It's a very talented. Again, as we said, the pipeline is there. And you can diversify with, of course, the Swahili language as well.
Fantastic. I want to talk a little bit about the location you're at, which is terrific, who, for various reasons I'm familiar with, I've visited the location. I think I even saw your offices, sometime last year. And I remember that you were like the anchor tenant over there. Tell us about the Two Rivers or TRIFIC placement, because I know it's one of the only SEZs in the country. And what drove that decision to work from there?
So I think, and for us as a global operator, it doesn't matter where our office is located. Now, if you can come to, you go to a site in London, it'd be at the same standards as my site in Nairobi.
Correct.
So that's its first point. We needed the big floor space. We needed the ease of access. We needed to have the amenities for our staff. So I think TRIFIC and Two Rivers itself, the complex itself, gives an environment which is so enabling for our people, for us as an organization, and the location gave us the opportunity to build what we as TP set as standards for buildings. Yeah. So instead of going to Westlands or coming here and looking at buildings, and saying, okay, but we don't have space for people to go to the shop, or there is no recreation, or it's not safe to go home at night. So these were all the things that encompassed with Two Rivers and TRIFIC, of course, the SEZ package for us. As an organization, it's beneficial because it gives us more speed to investment capabilities. Yeah, the sooner we can reinvest and grow is more important for me.
So I want to talk a little bit about maybe some of the key learnings, 6 years in, growing to this workforce, multiple locations. I'm sure there's a lot of key takeaways, and I don't want you to point in any specific direction, but do you have any things that have sort of stood out to you that you've learned from this journey so far?
I think for me, the biggest part is that we had an opportunity in 2020. And it's not always been smooth sailing. That in no business there's ups and downs. There is hard and there is good and bad. I think for us, what we realized was when we started growing, the support and the actual engagement that the Kenyan people and the government put forward to say, okay, you are TP, you are the biggest in the world. How can we make this job creation smoother and easier? Okay. Is it perfect? No, it's not, but it is in development. So we are currently working on the BPO policy. So which is a thing that we asked in 2021. We said we talked in the ICT policy since that the Agenda 2030.
Yes.
BPO was in there. It was the small paragraph. And I said, well, it's not to where it can be. And of course, if you put examples of even South Africa or Philippines or India, where the workforce, where our industry really has made an impact on the country and on the city it's operating in. So I think for us, working with our association, Oak, making sure that we get policy on the table, that we get guidelines, and that the country knows that this could create jobs for thousands of people. Yeah, and as I said before, for me the nicest part is always been we create jobs for people, and we create an ecosystem which will change a lot of people, because we might employ one person, but that one person has a family, has
all the dependents,
has got now money to go to the corner shop, now has got money to go, you understand? And if I take the Western Towers. So when we were during COVID, there's now a full market behind Western James Kishore Drive there. There's a full market there. But when we started, there was just one guy, two guys frying nyama choma, and one lady selling juice. But because we had 800-900 people in the building, they all wanted lunch.
So they created that system.
It organically came. It's not us who did it. It's just organically popped up. And that was then livelihoods for a lot of people there to actually say.
So you're actually creating an ecosystem, yeah.
And that's for me, I think if we can create the right ecosystem, this can become enormous.
What are the, when you think about the market in Kenya, if you were to say, what does this look like, going forward? I mean, you have this vantage point of 6 years. You've worked internationally, you worked locally. I didn't even know you went through the trouble of actually acquiring customers, which means that you're an entrepreneur. You're in there, not just doing the job, but creating the opportunities and selling and acquiring customers. What do you see in terms of the next steps? Where does this industry or space go to as far as Kenya is concerned?
Well, I think as we know, AI, everybody in the industry in the world is talking about the impact of AI. For me, I think if Kenya, and we are, and we will, if we position ourselves as the human AI operating model, Kenya will be the place to be.
And if we look at this specifically, I think you mentioned this earlier, this combination, you call it digital integrated business services. I think it's the way that you package your offering to customers. Can we sort of drill into that a little bit, how you see, combination of AI and the human expertise?
So AI is a very powerful tool, yes? And it makes the work more efficient, more reliable. It makes it more concrete for the end customer. So the end result is much more being able to be defined. Now, where we call it AI, EI, yes, emotional intelligence. And AI doesn't have emotional intelligence, okay? So the AI can give you the answers, can give you the solutions, can give you the way to respond, can speed the whole process up. But can the system give? And we go back to the first point, which I said, how do you deal with an angry customer? How do you deal with somebody that has been waiting for a parcel for a long time? Yes. If you give a AI answer, it'd be very cold, it'd be very one line.
Emotional connection.
The emotional connection is not there. So the integration of AI and EI, and then the operational model is getting much more refined. Okay, so you can have agent support, you can have QA support, which is actually doing and automating the process in between. The language models, which is for me a key point in Kenya. Yeah, we can serve people in Norway. We can serve people in Spain. We can serve people in Europe, everywhere we want with language models. So that's for me the big point for Kenya is we can really demonstrate if we can get people to develop and grow and integrate as one with AI and become more and more efficient, and the productivity will improve, but also the quality will drastically improve.
Fantastic. So one of the things I also picked up is that TP has a global market target of net zero by 2040, which is not really far away from where. And of course, as you know, Kenya is unique globally in that 92 to 95% of our energy is actually green. I'm just curious about how that plays into that global strategy, because it means it almost feels like you're in the right place at the right time as part of meeting that mandate. So how's that coming along?
And that was one of the reasons to pick TRIFIC.
Really? Fantastic.
Of course, so TRIFIC is all green-powered energy with solar panels.
Fantastic.
It's got its own biodegradable water plant, and et cetera, et cetera. So one of the reasons we picked TRIFIC was, of course, for their green credentials, which was a plus point. Again, we are supporting and driving this as a business, and this is as a global business. So the decisions we make on where do we set up next, what do we need to do, these are some of the checkpoints we have to go through, and we go through.
Fantastic. Now, going back to the EU-Kenya Digital Dialogue launch, which was where we met, or rather I saw you there, they looked at really specifically the IT-enabled services and the BPO sectors as being critical to making this work. And because, of course, they picked your organization as one of the key organizations to make a presentation for the stakeholders, I'm really curious to understand, they talked about the GDPR adequacy decision, where businesses in Kenya now will be able, through this new initiative, to serve European-based businesses and so forth. What are the implications of this for an organization like TP going forward?
So for us, GDPR is crucial for our business. And the enablement of the EU and the conversations between Kenya is a reinforcement for our clients.
Yes.
Okay? So because us as an organization, TP is GDPR compliant to all our clients from Kenya anyhow since 2020. So we follow the GDPR rules. We are adhering to that. For me, it is a tool to now say and go to market and say to clients, well, the dialogue and the agreement will come. Now that will give more confidence to possible clients wanting to enter into Kenya.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So it's a very positive thing for us to have that now being brought to the surface. Yeah, because I think I said it there as well. There are certain things that as Kenya, we need to counter. Yes? We need to say, why are we ranked orange on the index? Why are we? Yeah. How do we change that perception
and move to the next level?
And the European contribution in the GDPR Adequacy Act is one of the good steps that I see as a plus point to give confidence to possible clients.
Exactly. It's almost like a quality seal.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fantastic. Now you have your work cut out, right? Because you have a plan to be a 10,000, team organization here in about 4 years' time. And I'm just curious, what are the key ingredients, or what are the ways and means that you're going to use to grow by a factor of 4 in that period of time? What gives you the confidence to aim for that sort of target?
Well, it's not me. It's my team that grows.
It's not me.
It's the organization. I think for us as a team, we have our target. And I think, again, I come back to the point that I made about the impact we are making. And I think as a business, yes, we are, of course, we need to be looking at the financial and the business aspect of this. And if we can maintain those two in parallel, then we will grow the business. Yes, and if we can make sure that the people are aligned and we keep enough talent pipeline developing and creating, then there is no stopping for us to grow to that number.
So in your mind, this is very achievable. This is very possible going forward.
It is very
fantastic, fantastic. So I know one of the things you do is you also have another hat, which is you are also in charge of TP Nigeria. And maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what's happening on that side of the continent to give us maybe a corollary or comparison between the two, Kenya and Nigeria. Because when I think about technology and labor and talent, I feel like when you think about knowledge work, when you think about what TP does, it almost feels like there are almost 3 or 4 natural destinations on the continent, probably Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa. In my mind, these are always the 3 big markets when you think about this technology forward industries and spaces. So I'm just curious, just to understand maybe a little bit more about Nigeria. I don't know if you're operating also in South Africa, but can you tell us a bit more about what that looks like on a sort of a Pan-African basis?
Yeah, so Nigeria is a very good location. It is. You have 230 million population. It's huge. I think. So I oversee Kenya, Nigeria, and we just started Rwanda as well. So
really?
Yes,
wow.
we have. But Nigeria for me is more, like you say, the tech-enabled tech services, specialized skills. Why I'm saying that is because you have the volume of developers. Yeah. So if we look at the volume of people and the volume of graduates in the IT sector in Nigeria, comparing to Kenya, it is much higher. Yeah.
Okay.
So digital services from Nigeria, language specific C1 English Kenya, and driving Nigeria to become that IT enabled service support. That is how I'm seeing it. Okay. Again, I'm coming back to the first point. If you put somebody from Nigeria on a phone, you will automatically know they are from Nigeria. Yeah,
I get you.
So that's the distinguish between the two.
I'm loving this because in a way, some people probably were thinking or think, Africa is, as you know, a country. You're just looking at this whole 54 market continent, and they treat it as one blank canvas. They don't see the nuances, the little details. Yeah. And what I'm hearing you say here in no uncertain terms is that Kenya is especially well suited for those sort of customer service, human on the phone interactions, whereas maybe Nigeria, because of this, the sheer number of technology professionals they have on the ground who can code and do work of that nature are more suited for that. So that means when you come to Africa, really, you're not just looking at it in the sort of a blank canvas way. You need to look at the attributes, the strengths of that market, the type of talent they have, and then match that to the kind of clients that you're serving, correct?
Correct.
That's brilliant.
And that's why we're looking at Rwanda, why we opened in Rwanda as well.
What's the driver behind Rwanda?
French and English.
So it's all back to the little
it's
details.
Details. So French and English, so Canadian market, for example, you can switch.
So you can almost say Africa kind of gives you a bit of a buffet. You can sort of pick and choose and determine which market is the right fit.
So I don't think, so in Africa, if we talk the African continent, TP has 55,000 staff in Africa, on the African continent. So if you think in Egypt, I think we are at about 30,000 in Egypt. Then you think Morocco, we have, but that's the northern part. So they have multilingual centers to serve Europe. Yeah. There's Madagascar, we have a center. There's various locations of TP. For me, I'm looking at the East African and part of West Africa, but the growth engine, in my opinion, will be Kenya.
Ultimately. Wow, that's good to know.
I really truly believe that, and I think it's proven it in the last 5 years. It's proven that it's got everything that it requires to be able to execute it.
What are the implications of infrastructure, right? I think Kenya probably has pretty decent, internet, data centers are popping up everywhere. Your business is fundamentally only possible through high quality digital infrastructure. So what have been the implications, the learnings, and maybe some of the key takeaways around that, and how that has been perhaps a driver or a key foundation for what you do in this market?
So I think infrastructure and data is very stable in Kenya. I think if you're in the Nairobi, in the Mombasa, and you have the right providers, there's not a lot of instability. For me, probably one of the things that could be improved are the security systems behind it. Okay, so for example, we can go through a security platform which sits in Nigeria.
Yes.
on a server in Nigeria, which we don't. So that causes latency.
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
And if then Nigeria would go down, then it has to go to London. So now you're going around
I
the world.
see.
Yeah. So bringing those providers to Kenya or East Africa at least to be enabled to have and reduce the latency on global work. That's for me the next thing that is an important one. Yeah. And then of course cost. Yeah. The cost of IT, the cost of power. These are things that we as an association are looking at. Okay, is this compatible with the rest of the world? Is this a level playing field?
And how are we looking as a Kenyan market relative to global? Is it expensive? Is it comparable?
It's comparable, but on the higher side.
On the higher side.
Yeah.
So there's room there to maybe...
There's room for improvement, and definitely on power. Yeah.
Fantastic. Looking at the rest of Kenya, I think one of the conversations we had earlier is, I think you talked about other towns and other locations in Kenya. Is there a roadmap there that is coming into focus?
Well, we want to create opportunities and operational stability. Yeah. Now, if we pop up centers in every city, that increases, of course, the operational cost. Now, for me, if we would get to a saturation point, or we would bring to Nairobi becomes the ecosystem that we are dreaming of. I think you are dreaming of. I am dreaming of. Then, of course, we are looking at other locations. We discussed Nakuru. We did some tests, and we had really, really good results on English. That is an indication for us. Is it going to be by the end of this year? No. Is it going to be if we have a client that says, well, we don't want to be in Nairobi and we want to be segregated from the business, then we will set up, of course.
Great. So I want to talk a little bit about, maybe cultural factors and nuances operating in Kenya. Anything that sort of sticks out to you that you picked up in the last 6 years? Again, I'm saying this because there's this tendency, and I speak this as somebody who's been a sort of practitioner or participator in the digital ecosystem in Kenya, that I've always found that it's quite interesting. Kenya has this ability to adopt or become significant in technology-related areas. Like I think globally right now, the story is Kenya is the most prolific user of ChatGPT globally. In my own career in the past, I've worked at people like ISPs and companies of that nature. And you just find that Kenya is really a very digitally forward market. Are there any things, again, maybe it's the culture, maybe other things, maybe the water, maybe the nyama choma that come to mind when you think about the key ingredients that are making Kenya, maybe around the cultural elements or behaviors or other factors that have really made it interesting for you doing what you do at TP?
I would say it's the people. I think it's very straightforward. It's the willingness to learn, the willingness, and I think that's why also the numbers of ChatGPT users, because people are really the saying the go-getters, the people that will actually put in the effort to say, okay, we need to find something to do. Yeah, so that's one part that I think is really key, an aspect in for us as an industry, but also how. As I said, my operations manager is now a senior director of operations. That trajectory, that willingness to learn, to put in the extra time to actually understand the business and grow with the business. You can't. Anybody can come and sit in my chair or become a leader of a TP site. We have my boss, my current boss, started as an agent 17 years ago.
Wow. So that career path is there.
And this is the beauty of our industry. This is, and for me, this is, like you say, it is so amazing that you can start as an agent and you can run and you become the chief operating officer for EMEA after 20 years.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, and I think Kenyan people really have the appetite to learn and be every day a little bit better and every day learn something new. And you were saying ChatGPT. I think for us to keep this momentum, we as a country, we need to modernize. We need to step up. That is the next point. And my discussion points are always, okay, you have a generation who is AI enabled probably more than myself and then knows, and then social media, et cetera, et cetera. But then are we developing and are we keeping up with their expectations? Yeah, and that is where there is a gap, in my opinion. Yeah, if I go back to, if I give you an example, the Philippines, for example, when the BPO really started, it was not us as an industry that actually started. It was the Filipino government that modernized the infrastructure and everything, which then created a pipeline for us.
I get you.
Yeah. So for me, the beauty would be if Kenya as a country and the government start saying, okay, how can we modernize and become BPO users? Yeah.
So it's very interesting because I remember at the event where Ambassador Philip Tigo gave his keynote, and he talked about BPO. I think today currently employs about 1.2 million people in Kenya. But again, even when you look at that number, it would appear to me that on a global level, Kenya is probably not top of mind as a BPO destination. No. You talked about your numbers in India alone in the hundreds of thousands. So how do you deal with the fact that maybe there are people who are skeptical or doubtful that Kenya or any African market for that matter might be able to deliver what you do? How do you counter that? How do you bring clients in when we don't have that legacy of being a traditional BPO destination?
I think that mindset is changing. So what I've seen since, if I look at 2020 and now, so I think marketing Kenya, of course, is key priority. I think if we look at the Ministry of Tourism, how they have marketed Kenya, I think now, of course, Ministry of ICT marketing Kenya as a BPO destination. Myself and our team literally going out there and promoting and giving examples. I will give you a small example of how powerful the Kenya people are. So we have one client who started with us in 2022 and 2023. And they had never been to Kenya. And we started talking and have discussions with them. And they were like, no, not really. I said, okay, let me just ask you one thing. Are you willing to take an hour out of your schedule and do a round table with 10 Kenyans or 15 Kenyans and have a conversation?
Just talk to them.
Just have a conversation. And they said, yes. I said, okay. So we set up and we call it a collaboration. And they said, and they had I think we had to say, you're now finished. It's time. You've been here for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And they had such an amazing conversation that 3 days later, they said, well, we're starting with 50 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just changed their perception.
It changed their perception. And I think also what I say, if we have people that actually, if we have clients and we have the engagement with the client and we say, okay, we're going to come and do a visit. Now, 9 out of 10, if they come to Kenya, they will put their business in.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that's the team. Okay. How welcoming our team is, how organized we are when we actually receive guests, etc., etc. So I think that's, yeah.
That legacy is
disappearing. That negativity, that understanding, that perception. Yeah. People don't know about the expressway till they actually get out of the airport and are in their hotel in 15 minutes. Yeah. And that's to the center of Nairobi.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you say, okay, you're now in the center here. Oh, tomorrow we will do a safari. And you drive 20 minutes and you're in the national park. And people are like, how is this
even possible?
How is this possible? And I call Nairobi the London of Africa. That's what I call it. So
that's the London of Africa.
Yeah, that's what it is. Because if you think you have the UN here, you have all the big. So why are people anxious to come? They wouldn't.
And yet it's all here.
It's all here. So
wow.
Yeah.
I think they should use you on a marketing campaign.
They should use me.
So, Sven, if you're sitting in the same chair where you are right now in 5 years and someone asks you, what was TP Kenya's single most important contribution to Kenya's digital economy? What would that be?
Changing lives.
Wow. Changing lives.
Changing lives, yeah.
Do you have any stories, maybe some of your employees?
Yeah.
There's always, I'm sure, some significant story you have somewhere in there around how someone's life was transformed with what you guys are doing.
Well, I think, and not as a marketing tool. We don't use that as a marketing tool. I think impact sourcing, for example.
Impact sourcing.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
So impact sourcing, we work with Generation Kenya. We work with Connexio, which are organizations that actually go to Kibera and train people.
Oh, wow.
Connexio uses the refugee camps. So people that literally are looking for opportunities but are never getting considered for opportunities. So I think our current percentage is 16% of our workforce is from impact sourcing. I want to push that up. So if I think somebody that comes and didn't have the opportunity to actually go to college or go to university, but still speaks perfect English, good English, can work on a computer. Or if not, can we teach you to work on a computer? So making that change, coming from Kibera and literally moving out and moving into a small one-bedroom city, is like, it is a change.
It's a massive
It's
change.
a massive change. So we have a lady that actually came from there, and then I think she's now a quality manager. So she actually started as an agent, did very well as an agent, and got promoted. And that every time that promotion, that's an improvement on our lifestyle, on our family's lifestyle. The dependency ratio in Kenya is what, 6.4%? Yeah. So every one person that has a job supports six other people. So that is the impact. And if you do that with impact sourcing, it is even more relevant.
That's brilliant. So to come to the end of our conversation, Sven, I'd like to maybe ask a few more questions. The first one being, if you look at a young Kenyan or young African, because again, you're also in places like Nigeria and Rwanda, who's watching this or listening to this podcast and are thinking about a career in this digital business services area that you're into, or BPO, customer experience, not just an entry-level job, but a genuine professional pathway, which you've confirmed TP and the industry do provide. What is the most honest and useful thing you can tell them about what that career actually looks like and why TP Kenya might be the place to start?
I think for me, it's very straightforward. If you make that decision, whatever you do it with 100% commitment and 100% dedication, and put yourself out there. Okay, I always, if you do a good job, be proud of the good job you do. Yeah, we have a lot of people, and everybody is working very, very hard and very good. But if you're not a shining star, it becomes very hard to be noticed and recognized and speak. That's a lot of people don't actually say what their ambitions are. Yeah, if somebody comes up to me and says, I want to become an operations manager, an operations director, or whatever it is in our industry, I want to be in your chair. Well, if I know, then I can say with our learning and development, okay, this is your ambition. Now let's put a plan in place. Okay, let's look at what do you need to learn, where are you now, where do you want to go, and how are you going to get there? Yeah, I think having that mindset of literally saying, this is what I want to achieve, and this is what I need to get there is key. It is key. For me, when I came to Kenya, the first 6 months, I knew what my objective was. I just have to work out how was I going to get there.
The steps that are going to get you there.
The steps that's going to need to get there. And I think that's important for every young person in life. And not only in our industry. Generally in life, when you put your mind to it and work with a purpose. Don't just work for the paycheck. Don't just work for, what is your purpose in doing this?
You know, there's something that's interesting that I notice even as I recruit young people in my own business, which is, I call it the microwave generation, the Gen Zs, where they want overnight success instantly. And I think people like you and I with the gray beards, we know that it doesn't happen overnight.
It doesn't happen.
You've done the 10,000 hours, you've done the 20 years and more. How do you dissuade them from that short-term approach?
Well, again, it is a mindset shift. I think we have to break it down. Yeah, and then again, social media, everybody is living the dream life on social media, but in reality, is it truth? Well, I don't know. Yeah, and that's the bottom line with the career aspect as well. Yes, you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
the suffering you go through.
Don't tell me
the journey, and that's the same for me.
Yeah.
It's not always smooth sailing, but you can't learn if you don't go through it. I have a little saying which I always use: God always puts the blessings on the other side of suffering. So you have to go through that suffering, because otherwise you won't learn.
Yeah, it's the price to be paid to become what you can become.
It's exactly, you have to go through it. Yeah, if you would talk to my boss, who was an agent, if he would say his journey,
He's done the work. Huh?
he's done the work. Yes,
Awesome.
and he knows the business. So I think there is no quick fix. There is no quick fix, no matter what. As quick as AI can give you the answer, you can't execute as quick. That's
Wow.
the bottom line.
I feel like we needed more time. But Sven, you've been absolutely spectacular.
No problem, Moses.
Just to say that I think the presentation you gave, I don't know why it resonated with me, a few weeks ago. Why we're here today, which I'm so grateful that you made the time to be with us. I think you've really given us a fantastic picture of where the business has come from globally, locally, the African, sort of tapestry, the different markets. And I'll just say that I think it's such an honor that Kenya has TP working and doing what you're doing, especially empowering young people, giving them a clear pathway to their careers, but also becoming a significant participant of this BPO space in Kenya and the rest of the continent. And I think really the opportunities going forward are incredible. We know that Africa is going to be the world's labor market in the next 20, 30 years. So the fact that you're kind of building the steps through TP to get us there with your teams is fantastic. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Moses. It's been a pleasure.
The last thing which we always ask our guests is how can people find you or your organization online? Maybe how they can get in touch with you, social media, website. Can you give our audience that information?
So it's tp.com is our website. And then, of course, myself is Sven DC on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And feel free to reach out to the team on any of the social media platforms, which is TP Kenya at Facebook and at Instagram.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So you've heard it from Sven, a wonderful story, somebody who's really transforming the landscape in Kenya and across the African continent, specifically in the BPO services and the digital business services where they're pairing up AI with talent to deliver incredible outcomes for their customers globally. We thank you for joining us for this edition of the Pure Digital Passion podcast, and we hope that we brought you value today, and we look forward to catching you in the next one.